The crystalline spires of the Valaxian flagship Eternal Dawn pierced the darkness of space as it decelerated from faster-than-light travel. Commander Zira stood at the observation deck, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with a mix of anticipation and concern as she studied the blue-green planet before her. Preliminary scans complete, Commander, announced First Officer Kryn, his tentacular appendages dancing across the holographic interface. The species designates themselves as humans. Technological development indicates early spacefaring capability. No detected quantum communications or antimatter generators. Zira's facial ridges contracted in what passed for a smile among her kind. The Valaxian Empire had encountered dozens of emerging civilizations, and the protocol was always the same. Demonstrate overwhelming technological superiority, establish dominance, and integrate them into the Empire's hierarchy. Simple, efficient, and proven effective across 3,000 years of expansion. Launch the assessment probes, she ordered. Standard pattern, passive scanning only. Let's see what we're dealing with. The probes, each no larger than a human automobile, detached from the Eternal Dawn and scattered across Earth's orbit. They were practically invisible to primitive radar systems, their quantum stealth fields making them undetectable to anything short of advanced gravimetric sensors. Or so they thought. Commander. Kryn's voice carried an unfamiliar note of alarm. 3 probes just disappeared. Zira's bioluminescence flared bright purple with surprise. Disappeared. Clarify. No debris, no energy signatures. They simply ceased to exist. Kryn's tentacles moved frantically across multiple displays. Wait, receiving a transmission. The ship's communication system activated without command, and a message appeared in perfect Valaxian script across every screen. Note IC. Solar System Sol 3 is a protected development zone under Precursor Directive 7249. Unauthorized surveillance or interference will result in immediate defensive measures. Please acknowledge receipt of this warning asterisk. Impossible, Zira whispered. The precursors were legends, myths from before the Valaxian Empire's founding. Ancient beings who have allegedly seeded the galaxy with life before vanishing. This has to be some kind of trick. Run a full spectrum analysis of. She never finished the sentence. The Eternal Dawn's engines suddenly powered down, leaving them in a stable orbit but unable to maneuver. Every weapon system showed cascading failure warnings. Multiple contacts, the sensor officer shouted, emerging from the dark side of their moon, energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Zira watched in stunned silence as sleek vessels of clearly human design approached her disabled flagship. They moved with impossible grace, using propulsion technology that somehow didn't register on their sensors. Receiving another transmission, Kryn reported, his voice steady despite the situation. Audio only, translated. A calm human voice filled the bridge. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ship has been temporarily disabled in accordance with Precursor Directive 7249. Please be advised that while we welcome peaceful contact, any hostile action against Earth will trigger automated defensive systems beyond our direct control. We suggest you accept our invitation to discuss this situation diplomatically. Zira felt her worldview crumbling. These humans, supposedly primitive by Valaxian standards, had not only detected and neutralized their stealth probes, but had completely disabled the most advanced warship in the Imperial fleet. And they had done it with such casual ease that it implied capabilities far beyond what they were showing. Commander, Kryn prompted, your orders. Zira stared at the approaching human ships, their designs somehow both familiar and alien at the same time. Everything about this situation contradicted Imperial intelligence. Either humans were far more advanced than they appeared, or something ancient and powerful had indeed taken an interest in this species. Send our acceptance, she finally replied, and prepare a full report for High Command. It seems we've made a significant miscalculation about Earth. As the human ships took up escort positions around the asterisk, Eternal Dawn asterisk, Zira couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change not just her understanding of humanity, but of her own civilization's place in the galaxy. The Valaxian Empire had always assumed they were the pinnacle of evolution, the natural leaders of lesser species. But here, orbiting this supposedly primitive world, that certainty was evaporating like stardust in a solar wind. The real question wasn't whether humans were more advanced than they appeared. The question was, what had the precursors seen in this species that made them worthy of such protection? And more importantly, what would happen to the Empire's carefully constructed hierarchy when this news reached the Imperial Palace? Zira had a feeling she would soon find out, whether she wanted to or not. The Hidden Guardian. The meeting chamber aboard Earth's orbital diplomatic station asterisk, Harmony Point asterisk, defied Valaxian expectations. Instead of displaying obvious technological might, the room was surprisingly austere, furnished with simple wooden tables and comfortable chairs. Commander Zira found herself seated across from Admiral Chen, whose calm demeanor only heightened the Valaxian's unease. "Let me be direct," Admiral Chen began, her dark eyes studying Zira with unsettling intensity. "We've known about the Valaxian Empire for decades. Your expansion patterns are predictable." Zira's bioluminescent patterns flickered with indignation. "If you've known about us, why maintain this facade of primitive technology? Why allow us to believe that humans were an easy target?" Chen smiled. "Sometimes the best defense is letting others underestimate you. But that's not why we're here, is it? You have questions about the precursors." Before Zira could respond, a holographic display materialized between them, showing a three-dimensional map of Earth's solar system. Scattered throughout were pulsing points of light, thousands of them. "These," Chen gestured to the lights, "are precursor installations. Most dormant, some active, all part of a network we're only beginning to understand. They've been here longer than our species has existed." Kryn, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. "Our scans showed nothing like this." "How?" "Because they didn't want you to see," a new voice interrupted. A tall, silver-haired man entered the chamber, his movements carrying an odd grace that seemed almost inhuman. "I'm Dr. Marcus Webb, Earth's leading expert on precursor technology, or as they call themselves, the Guardians." Zira felt her scales ripple with shock. "You've decoded their language." "No," Webb chuckled. "They told us themselves. Well, what remained of them did." He pressed a sequence on his wrist device, and the hologram shifted to show what appeared to be massive structures buried beneath Earth's oceans. 50 years ago, we discovered the first Guardian installation in the Mariana Trench," Webb continued. "Inside was a consciousness preservation matrix containing the memories of their last survivors. They chose Earth not just as a repository of their knowledge, but as the cradle for their successors." Admiral Chen took over. The Guardians saw something in early humans that reminded them of themselves, not our technology or our physical capabilities, but our potential for growth, our creativity, our capacity for both logic and emotion. They didn't want to directly interfere with our development, but they left safeguards. The hologram changed again, showing the moment Zira's probes had vanished. The visualization revealed complex energy patterns that had simply unraveled the Valaxian technology as if it had never existed. Their defensive systems operate on principles we're still trying to comprehend, Webb explained. They don't just destroy threats, they edit them out of reality itself. But the Guardians left us more than weapons. They left us knowledge, carefully revealed over time as we proved ready for it. Zira's mind raced with implications. The quantum leap in human technology of the past century, it wasn't natural evolution at all. "Oh, it was entirely natural," Chen corrected. "We earned every discovery. The Guardians simply confirmed when we were on the right track. Their gift wasn't technology, it was guidance. The confidence to know we were reaching for the right stars." A subtle vibration ran through the station. Zero noticed both humans glancing at hidden displays with knowing looks. Speaking of stars, Webb said carefully, "It seems the Valaxian High Command isn't taking our warnings as seriously as you did, Commander." A battle fleet just emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Zero felt her blood run cold. How many ships? 17 capital ships, including the Imperial flagship Destiny's Crown *. Chen replied calmly. "Your Emperor appears to be taking a personal interest in our little conversation." "You don't understand." Zero's luminescence pulsed with genuine fear now. "The Emperor never leaves the throne world. If he's here, then this is no longer about adding another species to the Empire," Webb finished. "It's about maintaining the Empire itself. The idea of a protected species with superior technology threatens the very foundation of Valaxian supremacy." Chen stood, her posture shifting subtly from diplomatic to military. "Well then, Commander Zero, you have a choice to make. You've seen what we are, what we can do. Will you stand with us when we explain reality to your Emperor, or will you retreat to comfortable lies about Valaxian superiority?" As if to punctuate the Admiral's words, new contacts appeared on the holographic display, hundreds of them, emerging from what had appeared to be empty space around Earth's orbital lanes. Human ships of designs Zero had never imagined possible, each one radiating power signatures that made her flagship look primitive in comparison. But it wasn't the display of force that made Zero's decision. It was the quiet confidence in these humans' eyes, not arrogance, not the superiority she was accustomed to seeing in her own people, but something far more dangerous: absolute certainty in their right to exist freely. "The Empire needs to change," she said finally. "I would rather be part of that change than swept aside by it." "Good choice," Chen nodded, "because your Emperor just launched his first wave of fighters, and I don't think he's coming to talk." The station's lights dimmed slightly as ancient systems, buried throughout the solar system, began to wake up. Humanity's hidden guardians were stirring, and the galaxy was about to learn why this species had earned their protection. Earth was no longer accepting applications for conquest. Breaking point. Emperor Xarvaxis stood on the command deck of the Destiny's Crown *, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the light of distant Earth. 3 millennia of Valaxian expansion had never encountered anything like this, a seemingly primitive species wrapped in the protection of legends. "Launch the primary assault wave," he commanded, multiple hearts pulsing with determination. "Let us see what these guardians truly are." Across the void, Commander Zero watched from Harmony Point as the Imperial fleet deployed in classic Valaxian battle formation. Despite herself, she felt a surge of pride at the sight. Thousands of fighters and drones, moving in perfect synchronization, backed by the overwhelming firepower of 17 capital ships. "Your Emperor's making a mistake," Admiral Chen said quietly, watching the deployment. "We tried to warn him." "Status of the Guardian defenses?" Dr. Webb asked, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "Active but holding," Chen replied. "They're letting us handle this our way first. Professional courtesy, I suppose." Zero was about to ask what that meant when the human fleet began to move. But instead of forming up to meet the Imperial assault, they scattered in seemingly random patterns, taking positions that made no tactical sense to her Valaxian military training. The Emperor's voice boomed across all frequencies. "People of Earth, you have been deceived by ancient myths and falsehoods. Submit to Imperial authority, and we shall be merciful. Resist and—" The transmission cut off abruptly as the human ships activated their primary weapons. But instead of firing directed energy or kinetic projectiles, they began generating overlapping fields of something. Zero's sensors couldn't even categorize the energy type. The effect on the Imperial fighters was immediate and devastating. Entire squadrons simply stopped, their quantum engines refusing to function. Others began moving in reverse, their carefully plotted attack vectors inverting themselves despite their pilots' efforts. "Localized physics manipulation," Webb explained, noting Zero's confusion. We're not destroying your ships. We're just suggesting that the laws of physics work slightly differently in their immediate vicinity. On the main display, the Emperor's capital ships opened fire with planet cracker beam weapons, enough firepower to vaporize continents. The energy lanced toward Earth and vanished into countless microscopic points of light that had spontaneously appeared in space. Ah, Chen nodded. The Guardians didn't appreciate that. Now we'll see why they earned their name. The points of light expanded, forming a lattice of geometric patterns across space itself. As Zero watched in awe, the entire Imperial fleet began to lose cohesion, not through destruction or damage, but through something far more fundamental. Reality enforcement, Webb said softly. The Guardians didn't just master technology. They learned to write the rules of existence itself. Your ships are being politely informed that they don't have permission to exist in their current configuration. Emperor Xarvaxis's voice crackled across the command channel, now tinged with something Zira had never heard in a Valaxian emperor's voice before: fear. What sorcery is this? Our weapons, our ships, they're coming apart at the quantum level. Not apart, Chen corrected, opening a channel to the Imperial flagship. They're being reformed. The Guardians believe in conservation of matter and energy. They're simply suggesting a more peaceful arrangement of particles. Zero watched as the mighty Imperial fleet underwent an impossible transformation. Capital ships folded in on themselves like cosmic origami, weapon systems restructuring into observation equipment, military vessels becoming platforms for scientific study and exploration. We're not destroying your civilization, Webb explained to the stunned Emperor. We're helping it evolve. The Guardians did the same for us, showing us that true power lies not in domination, but in understanding. The Emperor's response was cut short by a new presence in the command center, a shimmering pillar of light that coalesced into a form that seemed to exist in more dimensions than Zira's eyes could process. Asterisk, the experiment proceeds as intended asterisk, the Guardians' thoughts echoed in their minds. Asterisk humanity demonstrates the capacity for mercy even in victory. The Valaxian potential for growth is confirmed. Phase 2 may begin asterisk. Admiral Chen smiled. And that, Emperor Xarvaxis, is why humans are off limits. Not because we're protected, but because we're protectors ourselves now. The Guardians didn't choose us to be their successors. They chose us to be their students and eventually their colleagues. The transformed Imperial fleet hung in space, a monument to the futility of conquest in the face of true civilization. But it was the Guardians' next words that truly shattered the Empire's worldview. Asterisk humanity was not the first species we uplifted, nor will they be the last. They are, however, the first to successfully transition from protected to protector. The Valaxian Empire stands at a similar threshold, if you have the wisdom to recognize it asterisk. Zira looked at the humans around her with new understanding. They weren't just a species with powerful allies or advanced technology. They were what her people could become if they abandoned their fear of the unknown and embraced a larger destiny. The war for Earth was over before it truly began, but the revolution in Valaxian society was just beginning, and Zira had a feeling humanity would be there to help guide them through it, just as the Guardians had done for Earth. After all, that's what protectors do. The truth emerges. The Great Hall of the asterisk Harmony Point asterisk station had been transformed. Where once stood a simple meeting room, now a vast chamber housed representatives from both humanity and the Valaxian Empire. Emperor Xarvaxis, his crystalline form now dimmed with humility, sat across from Earth's unified council, while the Guardians' ethereal presence illuminated the space between them. Asterisk show them, asterisk, the Guardians' thought echoed. Asterisk show them why we chose humanity asterisk. Dr. Webb activated a holographic display that filled the chamber with images from Earth's history. But these weren't the grand moments of technological triumph. Instead, they showed smaller, more personal scenes. Humans helping others during disasters, protecting endangered species, rehabilitating damaged ecosystems, teaching children, and reaching across cultural divides. You see, Webb explained, the Guardians didn't choose us for our potential to build weapons or master physics. They chose us for this. Admiral Chen stepped forward. When they first found Earth, humans were still painting on cave walls. But even then, they saw something crucial. We painted not just hunts and victories, but dreams, stories, hopes for the future. We imagined possibilities before we could create them. Emperor Xarvax's outer shell rippled with confusion, but the Valaxian Empire achieved technological supremacy through focus, through discipline, through fear. Zira interrupted, daring to speak against her emperor for the first time. Through the fear of being weak, of being conquered as our ancestors once were. We built an empire because we were afraid of being anything else. The Guardians' form shifted, displaying scenes from ancient Valaxian history that even the Emperor had never seen, their own ancient cave paintings, their own first steps towards civilization, and the moment they turned toward conquest. Asterisk, both species faced the same choice, asterisk, the Guardian communicated. Asterisk, when confronted with the unknown, humanity chose to explore it. The Valaxians chose to control it. Both paths led to advancement, but only one led to wisdom, asterisk. Dr. Webb brought up new images, the transformed Valaxian fleet, now orbiting Earth peacefully. Your ships weren't downgraded, Emperor. Look closer. The Emperor's scientific advisors, finally allowed to speak, reported their findings with excitement. The transformed vessels now contain technology far beyond their original capabilities, but tools for exploration, for understanding, for connecting with other species. The Guardians didn't disable your fleet, Admiral Chen explained. They upgraded it to its true potential, just as they've been doing for humanity, piece by piece, as we proved we were ready for each advancement. Asterisk, the question was never about technological achievement. Asterisk, the Guardian's presence rippled. Asterisk, it was about purpose. Humanity's first instinct upon reaching space wasn't to conquer it, but to understand it, to dream about it, to share it. Asterisk. Emperor Xarvaxis rose, his crystalline form catching the light in new patterns. And now you offer us the same path, after we tried to conquer you. Especially because of that, Webb smiled. Because despite your attack, Earth's first response wasn't to destroy your fleet, but to transform it, to show you another way. That's exactly what the Guardians did for us. The Guardian's form expanded, showing the galaxy in miniature. Asterisk, the time of isolation ends. The experiment succeeds. Humanity has proven themselves not just worthy of protection, but capable of protecting others. The Valaxian Empire stands at the same crossroads humanity once faced. Asterisk. Zero watched as understanding dawned in her emperor's multifaceted eyes. The warnings about humans being off limits, they weren't just protecting humanity from us. They were protecting you from making the wrong choice at a crucial moment, Chen finished, just as they protected us until we were ready to protect others. The Guardian's presence intensified. Asterisk, the next phase begins. The galaxy needs both humanity's creativity and Valaxian discipline. Apart, you are incomplete. Together, asterisk. The holographic galaxy burst into life, showing thousands of worlds, millions of species, endless possibilities for connection and growth. But more importantly, it showed the damage done by centuries of conflict and fear, damage that could only be healed by species working together. So, Admiral Chen said, extending her hand to the Emperor, "Shall we begin?" The Emperor looked at his transformed fleet, at the Guardian's display, at the human delegation's open expressions, and finally at Commander Zira's hopeful face. In 3,000 years of imperial history, no emperor had ever bowed to another species. Xarvaxis stepped forward and took Chen's hand. He didn't bow. He didn't need to. Instead, he did something far more revolutionary for a Valaxian emperor. He asked a question, "Will you teach us?" The Guardian's presence suffused the chamber with what could only be described as satisfaction. Phase 2 had indeed begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. New horizons. 1 year after the failed invasion of Earth, the Valaxian capital world of Crystallos hosted an unprecedented gathering. The crystal spires of the Imperial Palace, once symbols of isolation and superiority, now reflected the diverse forms of 1,000 species representatives. At the center of the Grand Assembly Chamber, Commander Zira, now Ambassador Zira, stood beside Admiral Chen as they prepared to address the galaxy. "The old signs are coming down today," Chen mentioned, watching maintenance drones carefully removing the ancient Imperial warnings that had marked Valaxian space as forbidden to lesser species. Funny how something so permanent can become obsolete so quickly. Zira's bioluminescence pulsed with amusement, nearly as funny as seeing human coffee shops opening in our commercial districts. "Do you know we've had to redesign our entire urban architecture to accommodate the concept of casual dining?" Their light moment was interrupted as Emperor Xarvaxis entered, his crystalline form now modified with streams of quantum circuitry, a visible symbol of the merger between Valaxian tradition and Guardian technology. Behind him, Dr. Webb led a procession of human and Valaxian scientists, their excited chatter echoing through the chamber. Asterisk, the integration proceeds faster than projected. Asterisk, the Guardian's presence manifested, its multidimensional form now a familiar sight in galactic politics. Asterisk, both species exceed original parameters. Asterisk. Webb grinned, holding up a device that wouldn't have existed without the merger of human creativity and Valaxian precision engineering. "Wait until they see what we've achieved with the Quantum Harmonics project. Turns out our music and Valaxian crystalline technology create some fascinating effects in subspace." The Emperor raised his arms, bringing the assembly to order. Gone was the rigid formality of Imperial protocol, replaced by something more organic, more alive. "My fellow sentients," he began, "1 year ago, we faced a choice between stagnation and growth, between fear and hope. Today, we present the first fruits of choosing hope." The chamber's holographic systems activated, but instead of displaying military might or territorial boundaries, they showed something unprecedented: the first joint human-Valaxian colony world. Not a conquered territory or a carefully segregated settlement, but a true fusion of both cultures. Admiral Chen stepped forward. "New Horizon Colony represents more than just cooperation between our species. It's a template for what's possible when we stop asking who's superior and start asking what we can learn from each other." Ambassador Zira took over, her luminescence matching the rhythm of her words. "The colony's quantum shielding, derived from Valaxian crystal technology and enhanced by human intuitive programming, has already proven more effective than either of our previous defensive systems. But more importantly, the colonists have begun developing their own unique culture, neither human nor Valaxian, but something gloriously new." The Guardian's presence expanded, encompassing the entire chamber. Asterisk, the experiment enters its final phase. "Watch, asterisk." The holographic display shifted, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Former Imperial worlds opening their borders. Human artists collaborating with Valaxian crystal shapers to create works that defied traditional dimensions. Joint scientific expeditions making discoveries that neither species could have achieved alone. But most surprisingly, it showed the effects on other civilizations. Species that had lived in fear of the Empire were emerging, sharing their own unique perspectives and abilities. The galaxy was awakening. "We used to say humans are off limits as a warning," Chen smiled. "Now it's become more of a marketing slogan. Everyone wants to know what made us special enough to earn Guardian protection." "And what do you tell them?" Emperor Xarvaxis asked, genuine curiosity in his multifaceted eyes. "The truth," Webb replied. "That we're not special at all. We just learned the right lesson at the right time. But the universe is too vast and wonderful for any one species to go it alone." Zero watched as the assembled representatives began to mingle, barriers of species and ideology dissolving in the face of shared possibility. Her own people, once rigid in their crystal perfection, were learning to bend without breaking, to change without losing themselves. Asterisk, the cycle completes. Asterisk, the guardian observed. Asterisk, the protected become protectors. The teachers become students. The circle expands. Asterisk. As if to demonstrate this, alarms suddenly chimed, but not in warning. Long-range sensors had detected a new civilization reaching for the stars, taking their first uncertain steps into space. Admiral Chen looked at Emperor Sarvaxis. Together. The Emperor's response would have been unthinkable just a year ago. Let us go welcome them to the community of worlds. As the joint human-Valaxian first contact team prepared to depart, Zira reflected on how much had changed. The Empire had lost its isolation but gained a galaxy. Humanity had shared its protection and found equals instead of subjects. And somewhere, on a small trading station near New Horizon Colony, a young Valaxian artist was sharing coffee with a human quantum physicist, sketching designs for crystal sculptures that could exist in 5 dimensions while discussing the possibility of using music to communicate with subspace entities. The Guardian's final words echoed through the chamber. Asterisk, and so it continues. The story never ends. It merely opens to new chapters. Asterisk. Because in the end, humans are off limits had never really been about keeping others away. It had been about maintaining the space needed for something greater to emerge, a galaxy where no species had to stand alone. The boundaries had become bridges, the warnings had become welcomes, and the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter for it.